China is a country where the past and the future seem to exist in the same moment. Here, ancient temples stand beneath the shadows of futuristic skyscrapers. Centuries-old traditions continue. In neighborhoods, surrounded by some of the world's most advanced cities, and a journey of just a few hours can take you from crowded urban streets to peaceful mountain villages. China is enormous, diverse, and often full of contradictions. It is home to legendary landmarks, breathtaking landscapes, extraordinary food, rapidly changing cities, and communities whose way of life has remained connected to traditions passed down for generations. But beyond the images most people have seen, there is another China waiting to be discovered. A China of hidden towns, forgotten pathways, incredible landscapes, bustling markets, and everyday moments that reveal what life here is really like. From the ancient walls of Beijing to the neon skyline of Shanghai, from steaming street food stalls to quiet villages surrounded by mountains, this is a journey across a country that refuses to fit into a single definition. This is China, ancient, modern, mysterious, powerful, and unlike anywhere else on Earth. To understand modern China, you first have to look deep into its past, because history here is not simply something preserved inside museums. It is woven into streets, buildings, traditions, food, and everyday life. In Beijing, the capital's historic heart tells stories that stretch back centuries. The Forbidden City, with its vast courtyards and remarkable architecture, reflects the power and culture of imperial China, while nearby temples and traditional neighborhoods offer a glimpse into a world shaped by generations of customs. And then there is the Great Wall, stretching across mountains and valleys like a stone, reminder of the enormous civilizations that came before the modern nation. But perhaps the most fascinating part of ancient China is that its traditions did not simply disappear as the country modernized. Tea ceremonies, family gatherings, traditional festivals, calligraphy, martial arts, and regional customs continue to influence daily life. In many communities, older generations still pass knowledge and traditions to younger ones, creating a connection between the past and the present. Walk through an old neighborhood in the early morning, and you might see people practicing Tai Chi, preparing traditional breakfast, or gathering in local parks while the city around them begins another busy day. Travel farther from the major cities, and the connection to tradition can become even more visible. Ancient villages, historic bridges, temples, and traditional homes remain part of landscapes that have changed remarkably little over time. Yet China's history is not frozen in place. It continues to evolve with every generation, adapting to new technology, new cities, and new ways of living. That is what makes China so fascinating. Its ancient identity has not simply been replaced by modernization. Instead, the old and the new continue to exist side by side, creating a country where thousands of years of history, China's ancient history may define much of its identity, but step into its major cities and another side of the country comes into view, one that feels remarkably futuristic. Shanghai rises along the Huangpu River, with a skyline filled with towering skyscrapers, illuminated streets, and some of the most recognizable modern architecture in the world. At night, the city becomes a sea of lights, while millions of people move through streets, shopping districts, restaurants, offices, and transportation networks that rarely seem to slow down. But Shanghai is only one part of China's urban transformation. Cities such as Shenzhen have developed at extraordinary speed, growing from relatively small communities into major centers of technology, business, and innovation. Across these cities, high-speed rail connects distant regions, modern airports link China with the world, and enormous urban infrastructure supports millions of residents. For travelers, one of the most striking experiences can be simply watching everyday life unfold. People rush to work, students move through busy stations, families gather in restaurants, and delivery riders navigate streets filled with traffic and bicycles. Technology is deeply integrated into many aspects of urban life, from transportation and shopping to communication and entertainment. Yet even among the skyscrapers, traces of older China remain visible. Traditional restaurants operate beneath modern buildings. Historic neighborhoods survive between newly developed districts, and centuries-old customs continue within families, living in apartments surrounded by the modern city. This contrast is one of the defining features of urban China. A city can look completely futuristic from one direction, then reveal a centuries-old story just a few streets away. And perhaps nowhere is this transformation more remarkable than in China's transportation network. High-speed trains can carry travelers across vast distances at remarkable speeds, turning journeys that once required long hours or even days into convenient trips between major cities. The result is a country that feels increasingly connected, where ancient regions and modern economic centers are brought closer together. But behind the impressive skylines and infrastructure is something even more important. Ordinary people adapting to an incredibly fast-changing world. China's megacities are not simply monuments to technology. They are living environments where millions of people are building careers, raising families, creating businesses, and shaping the next chapter of the country's story. This is the China that looks toward tomorrow, ambitious, crowded, energetic, and constantly changing. But beyond China's enormous cities lies a completely different world, one where the noise of traffic gradually disappears and the landscape begins to take center stage. Travel away from the major urban centers, and China reveals vast mountains, quiet rivers, terraced fields, ancient villages, and small communities where life often moves at a much slower rhythm. In the south, dramatic landscapes surround traditional villages, with homes built around narrow lanes, stone bridges, waterways, and fields shaped by generations of farming. In mountainous regions, entire communities can appear almost hidden within the landscape, surrounded by forests and steep valleys. Some of China's most memorable places are not necessarily its most famous landmarks, but the ordinary scenes found along the way: an elderly farmer working in a field, smoke rising from a village kitchen, a small boat moving across a calm river, or children walking home through an ancient street. These moments offer a different perspective on the country. Far away from the futuristic skylines seen in Shanghai and Shenzhen, one of the most remarkable examples can be found in China's terraced farming landscapes, where hillsides have been carefully shaped over generations to create enormous patterns of fields that follow the natural curves of the mountains. From above, they look almost like works of art. But they are also living agricultural systems that support local communities. Elsewhere, ancient towns preserve wooden houses, stone pathways, temples, and traditional architecture that tell stories of regional cultures shaped over hundreds of years. What makes these places especially fascinating is the way tradition and modern life continue to meet. A village may have an ancient temple at its center, while smartphones, electric vehicles, modern shops, and new buildings appear around it. Younger residents may leave for cities in search of education and careers, while older generations remain connected to their hometowns and traditions. This creates a constantly changing rural landscape, where some customs survive, others evolve, and new generations decide what they want to carry into the future. For travelers willing to move beyond the famous destinations, this quieter side of China can be incredibly rewarding. There is no giant skyline competing for attention here, and no rush to see everything in a few hours. Instead, there are landscapes to cross, villages to explore, local foods to discover, and countless small stories hidden in everyday life. It is in these places that China can feel less like a global superpower, and more like a collection of communities, families, landscapes, and traditions, each with its own identity, its own rhythm, and its own story waiting to be told. To understand China, you cannot ignore its food, because cuisine here is deeply connected to history, culture, geography, and everyday life. With such a vast territory, every region has developed its own unique flavors. In Sichuan, food is known for bold spices and the distinctive taste of Sichuan pepper, while Cantonese cuisine often focuses on fresh ingredients and delicate flavors. In Beijing, traditional dishes have become part of the city's identity, while local markets and small restaurants serve countless meals that are part of everyday life. Walk through a busy food market and you will see steam rising from cooking pots, vendors preparing dishes at remarkable speed, and locals gathering around small tables. Food is also an important part of family life, where several dishes are often shared around one table. Tea culture adds another layer to this tradition, connecting hospitality with centuries of history. But perhaps the most fascinating thing is how dramatically Chinese food changes from one region to another. Coastal communities rely heavily on seafood, while inland and mountainous areas use ingredients shaped by their local environment. For travelers, Exploring China can therefore become a journey through hundreds of different culinary traditions. Beyond the famous dishes known around the world, small restaurants, markets, and street stalls reveal the everyday flavors of local communities. In China, food is more than a meal. It is culture, memory, tradition, and a powerful connection between people and place. Beyond the famous landmarks and futuristic skylines, there is another side of China shaped by its enormous economy, changing lifestyles and millions of ordinary people. China has become one of the world's major economic powers, with huge manufacturing centers, technology companies, modern infrastructure, and busy commercial districts. But economic growth has also transformed everyday life. In major cities, luxury shopping malls and modern apartments can exist only a short distance from traditional markets, small restaurants, and older neighborhoods. This contrast reveals how quickly the country is changing. At the same time, tourism has opened new opportunities for many communities, from historic cities and mountain destinations to rural villages and cultural attractions. Yet China's story is not only about wealth or technology. It is also about people adapting to a rapidly changing society while maintaining connections to family, food, festivals, and traditions. In some places, modern life moves at incredible speed. In others, the rhythm remains slower and deeply connected to the land. This combination of economic ambition, cultural heritage, and everyday life is what makes China difficult to understand through a single image. The country is constantly changing, but many of its oldest traditions continue to shape the way people live, work, travel, and connect with one another. Perhaps that is the real China, behind the headlines. Not simply a powerful economy or a collection of enormous cities, but a vast and diverse society, moving confidently toward the future. While carrying thousands of years of history, China is a country that cannot be understood from a single photograph or one famous landmark. It is ancient temples and futuristic skylines, quiet villages and enormous cities, traditional markets and modern shopping districts. It is a place where centuries-old customs continue, while technology and infrastructure move rapidly into the future. From the Great Wall and historic streets of Beijing to the lights of Shanghai, from peaceful mountain landscapes to crowded food markets, every part of China reveals a different story. And perhaps that is what makes the journey so fascinating. China is not simply a destination to visit. It is a country to experience through its people, landscapes, food, history, and everyday moments. The deeper you travel, the more you discover that behind the famous images is a much larger and more complicated story. A story of tradition and change, ambition and simplicity, history and the future. And when the journey finally comes to an end, one thing becomes clear: China is not just one world. It is many worlds existing side by side, constantly changing, yet still connected to a past that stretches back thousands of years.